Hi guys, welcome to day 2 of CSS series, and today we are going to look at the core concepts, the fundamentals that you need to get right for you to master and be able to start working or adding some styles to your HTML pages. Now, one of the things that you need to know before jumping into CSS, we are assuming that you have already learned HTML and you are able to build up some markup to give your website a structure. And now it's time for you to start adding some styles to your HTML to make it look better, and appealing to the eye and to the user. So I'm just going to go through the core concepts that you need to get right while you learn CSS or to start styling your applications or your websites using CSS. Basically, that is what we are going through today, and I can't wait to have you look at this. So let's look. Now learn CSS, the complete guide. Master CSS fundamentals and advanced concepts. Take your development skills to the next level. So, introduction of what I tend to cover today, a breakdown of CSS basics, the core CSS concepts, effective styling techniques, and best practices and tips. Now, let us look at the highlights of what we'll be doing in this particular CSS series. So, we will be having interactive demos, that is to learn by doing with examples. Then we're going to move from beginner to advanced, and then finally we'll have a capstone project that we will build, maybe a clone of something, so that we can flex our muscles to show that we've learned how to work with the CSS to a point that we can build projects. What are the key modules that we are going to tackle in this series, or the things that you need to know when learning CSS? One is the box model. So this is important because everything in CSS is displayed as a box, and understanding how box model works is a core foundation for CSS. Then selectors. Now, selectors will help you target specific elements precisely. Now it will give you a number of ways to do this. For example, you could be using class names, IDs, or even the tag names themselves. Then we have cascade and specificity. Now, sometimes two or more competing CSS rules can apply to an element. Now, in this module, you'll realize their specificity. For example, you do realize that ID is more specific compared to a class, and a class is even more specific compared to a tag name. Now, this understanding of cascade and specificity will help you to understand how you are going to target your HTML elements and the tags. We have inheritance. In inheritance, we leverage the property of inheritance where maybe a nested child element can inherit all the properties or some properties of its parent element. So that is a case, for example, if you have a div, and inside that div you have another div and p tags, h1 tags, anchor tags. So if you don't specify the stylings for the inner tags or the inner elements, it will inherit all the styles of the parent element. And then from there on, we are going to look at what we call advanced layout techniques. For example, the sizing units. Now, we have flexible sizing for responsive design. For example, when building an application, you want to ensure that your web page can be well laid out on a big screen such as desktop, and that the same web page should be well laid out and responsive on a small screen devices such as mobile phones, tablets, or even if you have a smartwatch. So that is, sizing units will help you that because it will make it flexible. Then we have Flexbox. Now, Flexbox is a layout mechanism designed for laying out group of items in one dimension. So that's from the name, flex. So that box will be flexible in a way, but it's one dimension. So you can only target one dimension elements with the Flexbox. And then we have a more advanced one, which is what we call the grid. Now, the grid provides a two-dimension layout system where it enables you to control layouts in rows and columns. So when we come to grid, you will be able to understand how to work with the two-dimension layout, targeting both the rows and the columns. And then moving on, we are going to have a look at what we call pseudo elements and classes. So pseudo elements and classes, they allow you to apply CSS based on state changes. This means that your design can react to a user input such as an invalid email address. So that is in terms of pseudo classes. Then we have pseudo elements that enables you to add elements without having to use HTML. All right. Moving forward, we're then going to look at advanced styling tools, where we're going to tackle shadows. So shadows allows you to add some depth with shadows. So there are a number of ways to add shadow to text and elements in CSS. So when we finally reach this topic, that is what we're going to discuss. Then we have Z-index. So Z-index is used to control element layering. For example, you can add or layer elements on top of each other using the Z-index and maybe just tagging the context. A good example of Z-index is when designing something like the navigation bar at the top. So you want a user that if a user scrolls, the navigation bar should still be visible to the user. So what enables you to do that is the Z-index. So it allows you to layer elements on top of each other or to stack them. Then we are going to look at what we call functions. So CSS has a range of inbuilt functions, and when we finally reach here, we are going to understand how to use functions. Then, just to add some cherry on top of what we're going to learn, we're going to look at some creative effects, that is filters, how you can apply visual effects and blend modes, combining layers for unique effects. So filters in CSS mean you can apply effects you might only think were possible in graphic application. So with filters in CSS, you see you have that ability to apply visual effects on your element. Could be an image, could be, just a normal div. Then blend modes, they allow you to create compositional effects by mixing two or more layers. And then you can also learn how to isolate an image with a white background. Then moving on, we'll tackle what we call typography and lists. So here is what we encounter, this is where we encounter fonts, we encounter alignments, we encounter lists. So you can customize text fonts, align text for readability, and style lists for visual appeal. So when we talk of list, this just structurally is composed of a list container element filled with items, things to do with UL or L, then the LIs, which are the list items. We are going to see how to work with them right here. And then moving on, we're going to look at some utility modules, that is things to do with borders, backgrounds, and overflow. So borders, just like the add frame elements within the borders. Then we have backgrounds. Think about background image, background color, and everything. You may want to add some background image on your hero section. So if you understand how to work with backgrounds, you'll be able to design something of the sort that we are seeing here. Then we have overflow. Now, overflow is how you deal with the content that doesn't fit in a set parent size. For example, assuming you have a div, for example, this one, and the text that you have is overflowing. Its size is larger than what you have. So overflow allows you to handle that, either scroll, hidden, and stuff, So that is what we're going to look at here. And then that's basically it. What you want to expect from this CSS Learn series. So CSS is wide, CSS is large, and you can only get perfect through practice, just building projects and styling them to just ensure that the concept sticks and it sticks right. And to have this working for you, you need to get the fundamentals right, and that is what I've discussed right here. So that's what to expect in the upcoming videos. We'll take them one by one, and we will have interactive tutorials showing you how you can apply them on your HTML. And as a prerequisite for this CSS series, ensure that you understand or have the basics of HTML. You don't need to learn everything, just the basics, and you'll be good. Okay, guys, that was from Omolo today. Osewako signing out. See you in the next video. Bye.